the government. A lot of people hate them. A lot of people don't like them. No matter which government you look at, there's always something questionable going on. There's always something shady happening. No world government's clean. No government ever will be clean. It's just the way the world works. Today's governments in question include the United States of America and the National Aeronautics Space Administration, or NASA for short. This theory, presented in 1994 by Serge Monast, suggests that NASA and the United States of America would collaborate to recreate the second coming of Christ. For those of you who don't know, the second coming of Christ is where Jesus Christ returns to earth, takes all of those who are worthy, and ascends back to heaven, leaves all those who are not worthy 8 more years. So the theory suggests that the United States of America and NASA would recreate the second coming of Christ and use that to implement a new world order using the Antichrist. And how that would work is they would project the Antichrist using holographic technology, which would be advanced for this time, where the Antichrist would defeat Jesus, and then using more advanced technology for this time would speak with the help of computers in all different languages of the world and include or suggest that the New World Order is the only way to go and that people must follow that. And if you didn't, they would just kill you. Obviously, they're bluffing, and there's multiple steps to this process, but that's the gist of it. So after this, in 1996, both Monast and a related journalist died of heart attacks, both with no prior conditions of related heart illnesses or heart failures. They just died in 1996 of heart attacks, which could be a coincidence, but it seems a little odd, including this next fact, that it was theorized that that the Canadian government, which Serge Monast lived in, kidnapped his daughter in an effort to dissuade his attempts and research into this project. Now, what happened was that he wrote a book. He published it publicly, called Project Bluebeam NASA, in which he laid out steps such as the government would fake earthquakes, because you can't just put a holograph in the sky and expect people to believe it. So they would first fake earthquakes, tsunamis, all kinds of other natural disasters. Then, as said previously, they would use lasers to recreate the second coming, where the Antichrist would then defeat Jesus Christ. And then after that, the government would use advanced computers to allow the Antichrist to speak in all languages of the world and convince people to join the New World Order or religion, whichever one. Now, while this does seem a little odd, a little bit before this, actually 3 years before this, a United States senator, I believe, it was never proven, but he said that the United States government was going to use something like this over Cuba to get rid of Castro in 1991. Now, this was never specifically proven to be correct, but considering that it came from a senator and he had nothing to lose, it just kind of, I mean, he could be making it up, but there's no reason for him to, because he already got kicked out. So there's no reason for him to do that. So it was never officially proven that this was true, but then again, it was never specifically proven that it was not true. Now, while it might seem that there's a lot of evidence and happenings to back this theory up and give it more of a boost off, more credibility to it, in reality, there's just no way that the United States government would have been planning this or even would have thought of something like this, thought they could have pulled it off. Considering that this was right after the Cold War, most likely what happened is that Monast the United States government wasn't necessarily trying to dissuade him from researching this and pushing forward with his theory of Project Bluebeam, but most likely the United States government was working on something else, considering it was right after the Cold War, and they would have been anticipating there to be another global conflict, which would have been World War III. They would have been expecting that to happen. So most likely they were working on, I don't know, some kind of secret weapon or some kind of global disease, maybe, I don't know, that they would have launched in the occurrence of World War III, and they just didn't want Monast stumbling upon that accidentally, so they had to get rid of him to keep their secrets safe. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this, but and there's actually an episode of Star Trek that was called Devil's Due that aired in 1991 that had this specific plot. Like, there was the show basically did this. There was like an alien government or something, and they had to do something. I forgot what the plot was, but the exact theory was the plot of this episode. So many believe that this influenced Monast in some way, or that the CIA got to him. They don't believe this. Also, considering that what we know now in the 20th century, there's no possible way that the United States government would have had a all-inquiring translating device at this time that could speak all the languages of the world and broadcast it to different regions all at the same time. So, while I don't believe that this theory specifically was in use or planning to be used, I do believe that there was something else going on during this time that the United States government didn't want anybody to find out about, and so, they had to get rid of Monast.